Hello guys and welcome to my channel. I am senior front-end developer originally from Ukraine. Back in Ukraine I have like hundreds of front-end interviews and I have 20 successful offers, most of them from international company including USA and Canada. Right now I'm living in Canada and in 1 month I already have 2 offers. So today we are going to talk about React.js interview questions. I found this interview question on GitHub and some of them I receive very often, some of them I don't receive never. But anyway, let's discuss every one of them. First question, what is React.js? So, React is JavaScript library created by Facebook, but it's free and anyone can use it. You can use it to create single-page applications, which is kind of websites. It's one of the most popular solutions for creating single-page application. And if you are looking for a job as a JavaScript developer or web developer, my advice is try to learn React and go specifically for React.js developer's job. One interesting question, is React a library? Because I want to say it's a framework. So, simple answer is library. Why? Because it's what official documentation from Facebook, from creator of React says. But why I'm saying it's framework? It's more like intuitive. React.js is not only view part of your websites, it affects all level of your application. You need special toolset like Webpack, linters, IDE to support JSX, specific solution to handle CSS and style, and you can write business logic inside React components or hook. You can have special components or high-order components or hooks to handle network requests, routing, local storage, and so on. Second, you have hundreds of other libraries which work only specifically with React. For example, UI components library. Third, when you use React, you start thinking different. You cannot just apply React as a library to help you with some problem. You need to solve this problem in a different way. When you see design which you need to implement, you need in your head to divide it into React's components blocks. We can compare it to Lodash, which is very popular JavaScript library. This library you can use to handle something with array or objects, and it's not force you to think in a different way. Whenever you need Lodash, you just use it. You don't change your way of work or your way of thinking. And first, one of huge difference is that frameworks call your code. But with library, it's your code which call library. Okay, second question. What is the major feature of React? Okay, first, it's virtual DOM, which is really performance and fast way to working with DOM, which is document object model. You can think of it like HTML, like JavaScript view for HTML. So you don't need to do anything specific. It's inside React and you don't really touch it. You just need to understand like general idea what is it and why it's faster. Server-side rendering. I don't think it's really related to React because for doing server-side rendering you need some other libraries over React like next.js. But yeah, React supports server-side rendering and you probably can get some interview questions related to this. Third major feature of React, it's component. It's really cool. And when I say that React forces you to start thinking differently and divide design to components, it's actually good, it's amazing. In this case, you can do really clear structure and clear architecture when each component not depends on other components. So it's impossible to create bug in one place when you added some other places. But before React, for example with jQuery, it's happened a lot. Fourth, React Native. React Native help you to create mobile application. you cannot just direct use your code in React which you create for web application to create mobile application from it, but instead you can use the same idea and the same mindset. So you can, when you're working with mobile application, you also can divide it into component and using JavaScript and React Native write this logic. Third question, what is JSX? JSX is XML-like, or you can say HTML-like syntax to write React component. It's syntactic sugar, which means it does not create some new or unique opportunity, but instead it just provides you more simple way to reuse old one. Some tools like Webpack will just replace your JSX to simple function call of React create component. What is difference between elements and component? So your component is React class or function inside which you have JSX, which is syntaxis sugar for call function React create element, and this function return plain JavaScript object. This plain JavaScript object is called elements. Inside it can have props and render other elements. How to create component in React? You have several ways, some of them outdated, like React create class, which you don't use anymore. So right now in 2022 you have two options. You can use ECMAScript 6 class keyword, or you can use just any function, like it can be arrow function or function expression, function declaration. Before, like few years ago, before hooks appear, if you wanna use state, which you probably will use sometime for complex component, or you can call it container, you was forced to use React class because only class can have states. But not anymore. Right now you have hooks. So with hooks, I can say that almost every time it's enough to use only function components with hooks. Exception is if you want to use error boundaries. What are pure component? Okay, pure component is React class when you create component with ECMAScript 6 class keyword, which use optimization, which when you try to re-render it, for example, because parent is re-rendered, it will not immediately re-render. Instead of it, it will compare old props and new props using what is called shallow comparison, which means only first level of object of props will be compared. And if props are the same, component will not re-render. Instead, it will return just previous, like memoized result. You can also use the same with React function component or like hooks. Instead of pure component, you need to use React memo. So depending on interview and your level, when you start say something about optimization, it can become a huge topic to discuss more deeply. So this question about pure component can be just like a start to go deep in a different area of optimization. But let's continue next. What is state in React component? State is a specific things in React component which you can use both in React class component and with React hook use state. This object holds information related to this one specific component which you use it. Using state is kind of simple, and I don't know what to talking here about, but one important stuff is this: you need to think about state. You need to change your mind when you're looking at design and divide the design to component. You need to think what every component, which kind of state will have. And I think this is most hard part and most important part to understand state as concept, not JavaScript like call use state or this set state. It's not hard. Hard is understand when to use correct state, when to lift up state, and so on. What are props in React? So, props kind of similar to state, but state is internal state of component, and props will be passed from your parent component. If you use React component class to create your component, props will be passed via this .props.something. But if you use function for create your component, props is just simple arguments to function. Like it's plain JavaScript and nothing more. What is the difference between state and props? To be honest, I never get this question in the interview, and I think it's because state and props it's two completely different stuff. Like, yeah, they have something similar, like both of them, if change will cause to re-render component, both of them use to understand what your component would render, but conceptually, it's like divided into two different parts. So, state is internal to your component, and props is external to your component. It's go to your component from parents.